Y grabando, FENcast grabando, otro episodio en vía telefónica, ya que seguimos en cuarentena. El episodio de hoy tengo a alguien que inicialmente la conocí a través de los open mics de Vox Populi porque she would go there and participate o simplemente observe. So, dicho eso, she's a writer, pero también le mete a la fotografía. Su Instagram bio dice que she's an aspiring edgelord and a professional screenshotter, basically. Mariana Ferrer, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I didn't think you would bring my edgy bio into this. My heart just sunk. I'm like, oh, I still have that.
Pues mija, ya sabes que you need to change it si quieres, I don't know, put it in a more quote-unquote professional way or whatever the fuck.
Not at all. I mean, it's pretty much like that. I mean, whenever someone like writes, it's kind of edgy. No matter what genre it is, it's always gonna be edgy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I write sometimes. I do more photography now than writing. But yeah, I do those things. I'm from Cabo I study English, so that can add on to the edginess.
For some reason,
Yeah.
everybody who studied English has some form of edginess o algo.
Yeah, even in the clothing, you can definitely know someone's an English major just by the way they dress.
Yeah. So, first off, nada, tell people what you usually write and the subject matter in your photography, por lo regular.
When I'm writing, I like to do more short stories, but since I've gone to the whole open mics, especially the Vox Populi, in poetry, it's kind of like super ranged. I really don't have a specific genre in short stories. It's usually some drama. I want to get into sci-fi, but that's like a whole bundle in itself. And in photography, I'm still like searching, I guess. There's this friend, Jamie Young, you probably know him. He's a writer as well. And I think, through him is that I found like this more artsy side to photography, this whole, having props, having a main focus and all that. But I used to just take pictures of what I thought was nice, scenery, people. I like taking pictures of people mostly. So I guess to put it in a word, people, that's kind of like my subject for now. And whatever is it, that's me.
Okay. I also saw that for spooky season, como que te tiraste experimental with like the classic ghost type of costume.
Yeah.
Con la sabanita.
Yeah, that was actually it's my sister is one of them, Mariana, and a high school friend Carla, and we started now doing a bunch of photos together because she really likes this whole modeling and stuff. So me tiró un día, and I took pictures of her in Plaza Cabo Rojo, and then for Halloween she was like, I want to do the ghost challenge. And my sister was like on it as well. So we went to Boquerón, we took some pics, and we kind of became a little bit of an attraction there. So people started taking pictures of us while we were doing it, or calling us Casper and all that. So it was really nice, and it was a bit more experimental than just taking a picture. That's it. It was super more organized. We planned it out a bit better and tried to have some type of theme, which was, going to Boquerón pretty much.
Nice. Sí, me encanta. People were looking at it, taking pictures. Como que we didn't want behind the scenes pictures, but thank you. Also, consider us influencers or creatives or whatever. Como le quieran ver. Entonces, going back to the sci-fi writing, en verdad que I feel you. Por lo regular, I don't know if it's because sci-fi is such a challenging idea al punto de ahora, because we consume so many things that it's kind of difficult to come up with something different. Pero in particular, is that the challenge for you, or okay, you want to do like an epic sci-fi thing, and you want to have everything connecting the dots perfectly, or what is it?
I definitely agree with you on that. Like creating this whole world or a lore of your own, it's super challenging because it feels like every good idea has already been taken. When that shouldn't be the case. Like there's always something out there that hasn't been, played out. But when it comes sci-fi, it's just, could be because I'm new in the genre. Like it's recently that I just started indulging in it. But sci-fi, it's sort of not. When you think about writing, you always want to get the character to evolve. But with sci-fi, for some reason, it's more about the world. Como tal. I don't know if you ever read Asimov. He's like one of my favorite authors so far. And he doesn't really develop the character per se. He just develops the world, or at least the history of what's happening. So I have no idea how to approach that. The only thing I've ever written remotely sci-fi was an assignment I had for my creative writing class. And it was this waiter who had an extraterrestrial encounter. So you don't get to know anything about the character. All you know is that he's like a physics student. All you get to know is that there's something happening. There's some aliens coming in. You hear it through like this radio broadcast. So I tried to approach it that way because there's this consistency in some sci-fi that's like, it's not about the person, it's about the collective society and how they're going to approach this thing that's coming in. So it's kind of challenging, that.
Yeah, obligado. Maybe if we took like the character approach to it, like, I don't know, you know that in sci-fi movies, muchas veces, at least this is based on, last October me pasé viendo Universal Horror Monster movies. So The Invisible Man was all about the character and the experiment.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe focus on the character and whatever their goal is in the universe that you're creating. And then from...
Yeah, but then with with The Invisible Man, I still think it's a bit kind of like society against society, because even though it is about the doctor, and then he tried this new experiment, it's like, I don't know, when I saw it, it felt more like it's the idea of change, of, being invisible, or, not being, being undetected. And then most part of the movie, what we see is people's reactions towards that change. Like that lady in the bar that just keeps screaming.
Yeah.
That's like way more profound than The Invisible Man itself. Obviously, because he's not there most of the time, but yeah, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, I mean,
towards the character.
It's just like use that as maybe the baby steps towards the bigger picture.
True, yeah.
Also, you can try sci-fi coup if that helps. Like haiku.
What is that?
Haikus, but with sci-fi influences.
That I've never heard that, but that sounds like the greatest combination.
Yeah, it's super cool and super liberating too. Since haikus have basically changed from their original form to whatever now, but sci-fi coups can be so full of potential. So,
wow.
I don't know, write a sci-fi coup and start from there, maybe?
Because like haikus, at least, obviously in the university they'll teach you kind of like the original way to do it, and I always thought that haikus were just super descriptive. But I can just imagine like a sci-fi haiku. That'd be very whack. And nada más hablar del universo y como que extraterrestre.
Yeah.
Un haiku, that would be... Yeah, and now thinking of it, like, cosas así is what anima estas personas, like, nosotros artistas, that esas cosas, the baby steps no anima, como que make a bigger picture. So yeah, maybe haikus, and even maybe just watching more sci-fi something
maybe
can, like, help.
Maybe the type of sci-fi that you would like to make, just to see what has already been done.
have like a checklist.
Confia, we all have one. Gotcha. It never ends. It never ends. So now that we're talking about your writing, y hablamos un poquito de la fotografía. What are some of, or who are some of your influences or inspirations?
Influences. I'm kind of like torn because in the literary world, I guess Junot Diaz is like the god for me. He's my god.
Classic.
I read him. I read his book, la de Oscar Wilde, cuando tenía 15, and I was just so mind blown by the way, like his voice, como tal. No, he described things and his dialogue, como que me inspiró mucho. Like, oh, yo quiero hacer esto. This is a type of voice, not to imitate, but I want to, do something similar. Because it really speaks to the whole Latino culture, and if anybody has read it, then they'll understand where I'm coming from it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I guess like my mom, just because she was the one who introduced just this whole world of literature to me, like reading to me in a young age, showing me these authors. So I guess, yeah, Junot Diaz en cuestión de literatura, and whenever I'm like lost in inspiration, I kind of go back to his stuff. Especially this is How You Lose Her, which is like a collection of short stories. Como son bien cortos, then I'll just like read one, feel inspired, and then try to make something out of it. But whenever I need some juicy stuff, I'll just go to my mom and ask for chisme de la familia. And then we'll just send it. Sí, dime que no, como que cada familia aquí en Puerto Rico has some type of juicy chisme, and like, if you think about it, it's super, you can use it for, I don't know, a book or a movie or something. So sometimes I'll like go to her and I'm like, Mami, ¿qué pasó con, qué sé yo, con algún tío o prima? And then she'll tell me, and I'm like, okay, now I want that dynamic. But then you forget to write, and then you just sit hours listening to a chisme over coffee. So
Yeah.
I don't know how good that influence could be, but it's really good.
Yeah, te entiendo full. Yo, I've recently done that, like, but ha sido más because I'm trying to, since my grandparents, they're not in the best conditions, but I just try to jot down whatever I can so I can tell in the future if I have children, esta es la que hay, know a bit of your family history, and si en el futuro me ayuda para write stories in some way, shape, or form, I'll find some experiences and integrate them in there too.
Mm-hmm. Y es como ese deber también, not just as either a daughter or a grandson. It's como que there's a duty as a writer to tell everything,
Yeah.
Como que nothing can be left unsaid, or no stone can be left unturned. It's like esta necesidad to either read and digest everything, or just like tell and write everything.
Exacto. I think you explained it in a much better way than I ever thought. Como que it's that need of expressing everything and also consuming everything. And I'm pretty sure a lot of artists in other fields feel the same way. But yeah, para no ser como que tan directo con lo que haga, con lo que hizo X o Y persona, pues hay que ponerle character names and whatever. So por ejemplo, I don't know about you, but I've in the past written character backgrounds of stories that have yet to be told. So, por ejemplo, if I want to write a superhero story, let's say, I have friends who study medicine, and if I have a character who's like a healer, it's gonna be based off that person or those people. No sé si te pasa.
Sí, como que imagino que ejemplo pues de medicina sería because they save lives, then that would tie in well with the whole superhero trope.
Yeah, exacto.
Yeah, como que people around. I usually I had a conversation with a friend a long time ago that if I were to ever make a collection of short stories, además de mi familia, de los chismes de la familia, I would definitely do like a journal of just waitress diaries or something like that. Because sometimes, like in the slow nights that you're waiting tables, you just hear these crazy stories de persona. Y I once, when I was like waitressing in Parguera, I started getting into writing para aquel entonces, and I remembered that I wanted to make some type of story with a character that bien secretive, nobody knows about them, but you, the reader, know everything. So there was this one dude who comes in with like his friend. Creo que los dos son gringos. Hablaban inglés bastante bien, but I wasn't sure if they were like natives or something. So this dude, he just starts opening up to everybody in the bar. It was just him and this other family in the other corner. And he just starts opening up de todas estas cosas que él hacía, que si estaba en el FBI, que si otra en MIT. I don't know if he was bullshitting, but he showed up. He even showed like his identification from each job. And I was like, how do you get away with knowing all of this and being like part of all of these things? And he said something like, "Oh, I'm just very secretive, lay low." And I'm like, okay, that's perfect. So yeah, cosas así that you just pick up along the way, whether it's in a job or even in your classes. Como que son esas little hints or bits de una persona that you can put into your own character, kind of like a Frankenstein or something. Como que coger bits and pieces para formarlo.
Yeah, obligado. Como mencionaste ahorita, it's about being very observative too.
Yeah, full observance. You have to I guess it also has to do with asking the right questions. Okay, every question is good. Come on, there's just some things that matter more. Yeah, I guess, you start developing that, conversating con más personas, especialmente from different backgrounds. It's definitely like talking to people that have like different opinions or come from different backgrounds. Como que ayuda eso. And it could help building like the best character you can ever come up with.
Obligado. And something I would suggest to writers too sería como que focus first on the character, and if you want to deliver a message through that character, do that afterwards.
Yeah, it kind of like ties along afterwards something, because how can I word it out? Because a character, it's something, it's like a movable piece, and you kind of like need that board. The board como que lo construye around that character. Eso me recuerda mucho. Yo me metí ahora en Dungeons and Dragons. Yo no sé si tú lo jugabas.
In D&D?
Yeah, D&D.
No, I've never played it, but I have a lot of friends who do.
Yeah, okay, but recently I got into it, and I never noticed how much D&D can help, not only like role playing and getting to know new people and being more vocal on stuff, but also on like creating a story. Our dungeon master, Jancy, he created one with like this eternal snow world, and it's really nice. And all of us, we were really new to this whole Dungeons and Dragons, where like we don't even role play much. We just use our normal voice and all that. But now, the more we get to play, the more we try to mold this character and mold, the habits, the pet peeves. Try to align it with whatever class we're in it. And I was having, tú conoces a Patrick Blankovich, que también va para Open Mics, Patrick Blankovich.
El que organizó el Open Mics en la Inter.
Yeah, sí. Pues él también está en ese D&D session. Y he's like, oh, diablo, I want to make a story now. So even cosas como D&D, que uno piensa like, oh, that's like that geeky tabletop game, whatever. Pero hasta cosas así como que ayudan tú a hacer un cuento. Porque you just make a whole world. And your players could make a character. And sometimes a good dungeon master will fit that story to your character's needs. So I guess eso también is like an advice to writers. Try to make your ends meet. De cierta manera. Like if you have a character that you want him to succeed, then try to mold that story to either for that character to grow or to win or to be defeated, whatever purpose is that you have. Pero sí, D&D debería.
Estaba hablando de eso, and that reminds me, I think a friend of mine, he's a musician primarily, but I think his thesis for master's was about that, like how top table RPG games can help develop storytelling abilities in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely, because you have to be really conscious. That's all about, what the background is looking like, what are the non-playable characters also in the room, and you really have to say it in a way so everybody can understand. It's not like in maybe a story where there's like room for interpretation. You really need to be vocal about what's going on.
Obligado.
Mm.
Mari, you write, you shoot pictures. So I have to ask, have you considered filmmaking as well?
Yeah, I'm really into that también. In La High, the way I kind of like fell in love with films como tal. Again, my mom, we used to watch a lot of scary movies when I was younger.
Oof.
And then just that developed into a habit where me and my family would just rent out movies every Friday night. And then on Netflix, now that we have Netflix, then we would also like watch a lot of movies. So I remember that once, like I had that movie phase where I wanted to make similar stuff too. And I don't know if anybody else out there also had classes where you had to make a movie, but there were like a couple of classes where we had to do either a trailer or a movie as like a final project. Coincidence, it's always in an English or Spanish class, so it further proves how edgy we are.
Yeah.
Y en una clase de español había que hacer una película recreando uno de los cuentos que leímos. And I don't remember the exact name, pero era algo como La Muerte Obligatoria, creo que era. It was basically this dude came back from the States, and his sisters said that their mom was dying, but when he comes back, she was completely fine. They just manipulated him to come back to visit her because she missed him so much. So this dude was so pissed off that he decided to, make the funeral in como quiera, and he just put her in a coffin even if she was still alive. So we recreated that movie, that story in like the Office style with the whole interviews and the camera movements. So con eso, that small clip, I think it was 15 minutes of screen. Y eso como que me abrió los ojos to the whole editing and the whole film thing. I was like, I kind of want to do this someday. Y yeah, es bien cool ese mundo, porque incluso también con Sangre, el libro de Jay, we did that book trailer. Even though it's not a film, the trailer still has to like portray a message. En este caso, pues, además del libro, es del objetivo del libro, kind of taking all your emotions out. So, cosas así, they're super interesting. I've never been in any context or I've never done anything on my own, como tal. Pero anytime I hear someone like, I'm interested in making a movie, I'm like, are you looking for camera people? Are you looking for editors? Like, stuff like that. Because it goes hand in hand, but it's so different from writing, como tal.
Super. Yeah. Confía. For me, it's been a while since I've made or participated in a short film, but I love it. So, I need to ask, if you had... Horror movies typically have 10 million máximo nowadays. Y sabe Dios y menos por lo del COVID. But say you have whatever budget that you want. What would be the type of movie that would be your first feature-length film as a writer-director?
I'm between like maybe a sci-fi or a drama. Sci-fi because it's like recently that I've been getting into it, but drama is, I can just imagine making a movie about, I guess, a Puerto Rican. That's mostly what I would want to do it in, the current state we're in, where like education is it's not at its best. Health insurance está aquí bien malo. I would definitely do one of those movies that have like different character storylines that align some way or another. I would definitely do have you seen Devil All the Time?
Which
Son
one?
varios cuentos de Devil All the Time. Sale Robert Pattinson, Tom Holland.
Esa es la nueva que salió en Netflix.
Yeah, that one.
No, esa no la he visto. Pero is it
Really?
someone like Pulp Fiction or like Amores Perros or something like that?
No, definitely not. It's more slow paced. It's like a 2-hour movie. It's about basically the whole family of this one kid. His father was affected by, I think it was Vietnam War, and his mom died. I think it was cancer. He has like a stepsister. She gets married with the wrong guy. Well, not married. She actually gets molested with the pastor. Basically, a bunch of shit happens. That if for others that have read Junot Diaz and Oscar Wilde, there's a bunch of shit that also happens in the family. So I guess I would do something similar, as in a bunch of different storylines or people come in the same family and just portray like real life situations. Maybe a bit exaggerated, obviously, because movie effect, whatever. Pero algo así que enseñe lo humano que está pasando, y especialmente en Puerto Rico, que hay tantas cosas hay tantas historias que no llegan como que a las noticias, que si tú vas para una barra o algo, you can listen to them, but nobody talks about it. So I guess something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, te entiendo full. If I had any budget, I would ask for 50, and I would make 25 micro budget movies.
Really?
Yeah.
So like short films or full length?
Full length, but they would be simple dramas and maybe simple horror movies, like psychological type of thing.
Yeah. From horror, which one do you think is the most difficult to achieve? Do you think psychological or another type of horror?
Most difficult horror?
Yeah.
As far as scaring people, that's a tough question. Porque ya se ha hecho todo, basically. Sería más no scaring, but actually surprising them and giving them something different, I guess, would be the difficult part. But,
got it. Yeah, because horror is so... Like, I know there was this one person, I don't know who, that said if you wanted to make a good like horror story, start from the end and then just build your way up. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that really works. But if people are giving that advice, then that means something.
I don't know. Pero the good thing about horror is que no matter how trashy it might end up being, it will always find some sort of audience, because people son being open to it. Like, there's a reason why B horror is such a loved subgenre, and la straight to DVD, lo que son ahora straight to Netflix movies, even have their own following. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely with the cult classics like Evil Dead. The old one, when you look back on it, it's so funny the way that they act in this movie, and the fucking the facial features that the people that Ash.
Yeah.
I mean, when I yo lo vi, yo como que, how do people like this? But then again, como que it's just, it is what it is, I guess. Como que it's just funny, and that's kind of like the purpose of it.
Yeah. Especially in the second one, where they ramp it up a bit with the comedy aspect.
Oh my god, see? It's so... I couldn't take it seriously. It's kind of like the Halloween series something. Because the first one, was really great, but then you get to Halloween 3 and it's like, what am I watching?
Yeah. De hecho, those would be like the ones that I would watch, that continue to inspire me, to be honest. Cuando se trata de making movies long feature with micro budgets, como que if they did it, it shouldn't be, it would be difficult, but still it is possible.
Claro, sí.
Y más ahora con la tecnología que tenemos. So
yeah, definitely. There's so many things, like especially I guess for editing, there's so many free programs out there, and all you need is creativity to be able to do it.
Yeah, y cualquier cosa, if you can get it to like Netflix or iTunes or whatever, just, I don't know, put it on Patreon and get some money that way. I don't know.
Sí, and there's always también, siempre hay algunos film festivals that are accepting stuff.
Obligado.
Yeah, que sometimes those deadlines are also an inspiration, to get yourself working faster.
Indeed. So, that question out of the way, I still have to ask. Ahora, off the top of the head, top 5 movies. Let's go with horror, ya que we're talking about horror. Y que para que no sea tan open the question.
Top 5 horror movies.
Or
Hello?
sci-fi.
Or sci-fi. Oof, okay. I guess Silence of the Lambs. I'm not sure if you can consider it full-on horror. It's kind of like more suspense, but
yeah,
that would be one. There's one, I forgot the name. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Which one?
The first one, yeah.
50s
That's the
or
one I saw.
70s?
Yeah, the black and white one. I saw it because of my mom. I did not know there was others. You got me there.
I believe there are only 2 more, but there could be more.
Really?
La 78, it's fantastic. Y the other one is like 2000 something. Creo que con Jodie Foster or Nicole Kidman, no me acuerdo.
What? That I did not know. I'm actually writing that down. You said 78 and 2000.
Yeah, but
Alright.
Please just watch the 70s one. La otra pues, I don't know.
I'll be chévere también.
Yeah, as you, como tú quieras.
Okay, esas dos, I'm not sure. The others, I guess. No, I was going to say Poltergeist, but no. The Exorcist is also pretty good, and a more recent one, I guess, to spice things up. Get Out. That one was really. I remember I saw it in theaters, and I was like so shocked. I'm like, oh my god, this is the first horror movie I see with racial issues. This is a big improvement.
That is an example of a movie with a very low budget. Pero con
low budget?
Yeah, like creo que máximo it was like 5 million.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Did not expect that. It was so well made, and he got. I think Jordan Peele is making like a series, right, of just psychological horrors or social horrors.
I think he wants to do that, like make a spiritual type of trilogy or whatever, where they're all connected via psychological horror type of things or social issues.
Yeah. Talking about that, there's actually one, if you want a recommendation, there's one called His House that came out on Netflix recently.
His House?
It also is His House, yeah, La Casa de Él, básicamente.
Okay.
And it's about these immigrants. They come to Europe, and they kind of come in illegally, but they whatever agency it is, whatever Borderlands equivalent, sorry, not Borderlands, Border Patrol, equivalent to Europe, they evaluate them and they let them stay in a house that they give them. And that house haunts the couple with the ghosts from their past sort of thing. But it definitely stems off of a social issue of immigration and all that. So it's really nice that these genres like horror, which, we see them mostly because we want to get scared, but then we see movies like Get Out, Us, and then now His House that, bring these social issues too, which is like it's a big improvement for that genre, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been there. I mean, maybe se está viendo más ahora porque in recent years pues no se veía tanto, pero
true, yeah.
You watch movies like Dawn of the Dead, it was a criticism of consumerism. You watch ¿cuál otra? Videodrome by Cronenberg. It was about the whole technological advances and how we're getting so attached to them. Hashtag, it's still resonant today, especially now with the COVID. Pero yeah.
That's true. Yeah, and also The Purge, you can also think of that's true. But I guess to narrow it down, I maybe like Black issues, I guess. Unless I'm wrong, maybe it could be like a horror movie that has black issues. But whenever I think of horror, I think of those three movies, and I'm like, okay, I guess now with this whole Black Lives Matter movement coming, como que surgiendo de nuevo.
Yeah.
Esas películas, al coger esos temas de nuevo, it's like, wow. But definitely, like, I should probably watch Shaun of the Dead again to get that. Because the first time I saw it, it was just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, no, I feel you. The only one that I can remember, like, así de cantazo, that was about racial issues to some extent, era la de Candyman. Pero...
I've always seen El Cartelón de ese, but I never saw it. And a lot of people told me that it's decent.
The first one is a good movie. The other ones, pues, they derail, as many horror sequels do.
Yeah.
So me dijiste tu top 5 Silence. ¿Cuál era la otra? For now? Invasion? ¿Qué más?
Invasion, Us, Exorcist. Me faltó otra, ¿verdad? Ahora se me olvidó. Get Out.
Get Out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yo me voy in classic, to be honest. Yeah, no solamente por what they did, but more because of they inspired me. Because, como te dije ahorita, some of them you can actually do them. So Halloween, the first one, Texas Chainsaw, the first one, Evil Dead 2. Y esta última dos no porque I can do them, but it's because to me they are masterpieces. Witcher, Exorcist, the first one.
Okay.
And the last one that I'm gonna say, since you said una suspense but also horror, I'm gonna mention one that is a thriller / horror. Yes, I Saw the Devil.
I Saw the Devil. Okay, those are really good picks. Yeah, la de Halloween, I saw it recently. Well, not recently, but like a couple of months ago. And obviously, the third one, I was like, ¿qué es esto? But the first one was really, like, pretty good for like, I guess you can consider it a cult classic.
I mean, it's a classic.
Yeah.
Un independent. O sea, de esa que, again, micro budget y explotó.
Yeah, I can see the old horror movies have this thing. They have like this charming effect to people. I don't know if it's because of the graininess of the film, pero siempre hay algo que como que reels you in.
Yeah, maybe. Y también, por lo menos, Halloween, Texas y Evil Dead, por lo menos, since I know so much of the behind the scenes, como te dije, it inspires a uno como que go out there and do something.
Definitely go out there and do something, whether it's to shoot perro al lado de un zafacón o escribir el cuento de un viejo en una barra.
Grab your cell phone and get out there and do something.
Yeah, sí, es otra cosa que mucha gente como que si no tienen el equipo o no tienen una libreta, pues no lo hacen. That's something I get frustrated with.
Same here.
Como que, yeah, you don't need the top model of anything to do anything. Like, si tienes el ánimo and the inspiration, then just do it con lo que tenga.
Exacto. I mean, I am pretty sure that a lot of people that don't do something artistic quizás se pasan viendo YouTubers that say, hey, all you need is this, so go do it.
Yeah, sí, pero es también como que vendiendo ese video de like, you need of consumismo. Definitely como que while you're in that state of not knowing where to start, es bueno como que mirar cómo empezar. Pero a la misma vez como que I'm afraid that some people might alargan ese proceso de cómo comenzar and then just forget when to do so.
Yeah.
Que como que, just do it, como dice el meme.
Exacto, es como que, sure, consume, educate yourself regarding the topic that you want to work in, pero at some point you gotta attack.
Exacto, yeah. Sí. And I guess it's just miedo también de no tenerlo bien a la primera.
Exacto. Yeah, you hit the nail. Bien duro, yeah. De hecho, that's one of my dearest friends. Eso es algo que para mí siempre lo detuvo, and that's why he's never written like a novel.
Mhm.
Porque he's always like leyendo todos los libros que tiene, but nunca practica lo que quiere escribir. Because, como estábamos hablando ahorita, trying to connect the dots to make it be perfect instead of just taking the shot and actually trying to do it.
Yeah, sí, porque como que si vamos con esa mentalidad de hacerlo perfecto a la primera, es como que, you know, what's the fun? The fun is, you know, perfecting your craft, not having it perfect de una. So, I guess for me, como que we have to try and enjoy the, not like the end result, but the way we get there, como tal.
Yeah.
Como que all those drafts and all the I sometimes give my drafts to a specific friend who will give me like very brutal advice. Just try to enjoy that brutal advice, aunque te hiera los sentimientos.
Yeah. Y además de que también a veces the flaws make the work even better. Because it has
Yeah, le da como con character.
Exacto.
It gives like a personalidad of its own.
And it gives it another behind the scenes type of story.
True, yeah, you got something to say to your behind the scenes, that's true.
El ejemplo más claro que puedo dar ahora es, ya que estábamos hablando de Halloween, de dónde proviene la máscara de Michael Myers. O sea, who would have thought que una máscara de William Shatner painted all over y given a different y revolcándole el pelo would have been perfect for the character.
Well, algo tan, like, who would have thought que él es un actor, ¿verdad? William Shatner. Como que usar una máscara de él.
Yeah,
And that's
he's
how you get Halloween.
Mhm. Captain Kirk
I
from
guess,
Star Trek.
What was that, sorry?
Que Shatner, he's Captain Kirk from Star Trek.
Mhm. Yes.
Y al igual en Evil Dead, en la 1 o la 2, si lo miras bien, hay partes que el traje del monstruo se nota que está joto. So.
Yeah, but that's kind of like the fun of it. Like, I can just imagine people watching the movie during that time, they would probably been like super freaked out. Pero nosotros ahora we're like, mira, se le va a salir el traje. Mira, tal cosa. Those have just been so enjoyable things.
Yeah. Now, hablamos de cine. What else? We talked a bit about your creative process, como que we both coincide que a veces tomamos nota of whatever we see or hear. Pero por lo regular, what's your creative process regarding writing and photography?
Writing what? Sorry, what was that last part?
Regarding writing and photography, por lo regular, ¿cómo se ve el creative process?
For writing, it's more like usually I get inspired by some other piece, like either a video game or another book. I'll get inspired and try to do something out of it. So for some of the friends that read my stuff, they'll be like, "Oh, this was heavily influenced by that cosa, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I still haven't been able to transition from that influence to creating something of my own. But it's, again, like a process. So for now, it's that. Sometimes I'll like indulge into something heavily, like sickly. I don't know what's the word. Like not healthy, indulging into something, and then I'll just finally come up with something about it. I guess. But for photography, I just I look up a lot of. I don't have a favorite photographer, but I'll look up some of my favorite pictures and try to get whatever sense I'm getting at. And then whenever I go to, let's say, the scene to do the photo shoot, then I'll tell the person, okay, try to act this sort of emotion. Or I'll give them a story. Por ejemplo, like for Carla's, I told her, just act like a fairy who's peering through the woods. And most of her pictures, they're very, like, doll-like, por ejemplo. Or for the ghost, where I was just telling them, look through the scenery as if you were waiting for your war husband that never wrote back, sort of. Like, son esas cosas bobas, you want to try and get an emotion. Obviously, for the ghost challenge, fácil. You have a cover on your face. No tienes que hacer ninguna expresión. But for photography, when it's not with a cover, por but you really need to get that emotion out. But you definitely have to rely on the other person's expertise to portray that emotion, pero tú como fotógrafo, you need to be able to direct them to that path. And it can be, you know, telling them a joke to get a genuine smile, to telling them a sad story so you can actually see that grim face. I guess antes de ir al photo shoot, I reiterate, I try to look up those pictures and also read like the behind the scenes of it. Como que what led up to them taking that picture, what was their state of mind. Y algunas de esas cosas, you know, aunque las fotos pueden salir fabricadas, you know, you can edit them. It's still going to show, that emotion is still going to show some way or another. So that would be, you know, I haven't gotten there yet, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Nice.
Y además de eso, just go and do it. Saca 500 fotos y aunque usan nada más 10, you know, las otras 490 bregan.
Obligado. At least they serve as education para ver qué fue lo que quizás no te gustó or whatever.
Yeah, definitely, and it's also very refreshing to go back. I do this more like when I write, I definitely go back to things that I've written in high school, por ejemplo. And, you know, at first you're like, oh, this is so cringy, but then you're like, oh, wait, that line, I like that line, and then you end up using it for something new. So, esa cosa así para bregan también.
Yeah. Te tiras lo de David Bowie que supuestamente recortaba como que los diarios y he would try to write songs with those. Como si fuese found
Like
poetry.
his journals or something?
Yeah, like a veces he would do like como que go through his old journals, recortaba las oraciones que le gustaban y hacía lo que hacían los dadaístas, like put it in a bag, sacaba la línea and start writing the songs that way.
That is such a creative way of, you know, and he is like one of the best artists de hoy en día, you know, sadly.
Yeah.
O sea, sadly que murió, obviamente. Y los últimos álbumes, como que ese último creo que se llama Black Star. Ese sí es so emotional. Ese álbum. Y ese fue full experimental en eso. Like he was always a futuristic singer, pero ese álbum por alguna razón it's just beyond his level.
Obligado, confía que we're both on the same page. Pero yeah, I think he learned it from William S. Burroughs, who learned it from the Dadaists y los surrealistas. Pero no me acuerdo si fue así el trayectoria. Pero anyway, me gusta la manera que describiste el proceso de photography porque it's very similar to filmmaking y directing. Por lo menos en cuestión a directing the actors, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, porque algunas veces como que, you know, what I've seen por lo menos, like if you're just going to take a picture of the person smiling, you know, because you want to capture the moment, tremendo, you can do that. But if you want, and I assume maybe it's because I like writing and telling stories and I want to try and imitate that on everything I do. So I guess if you want to take a really meaningful picture, you know, maybe not for everyone, but for you, then try to act out something, some type of story. Y no es para como que, alguna fequera o algo. Pero es como que tratar de mostrar algo genuino, que I always have like debates with a friend, que a ella le gusta sacar fotos de naturaleza y a mí me gusta sacar fotos de personas. And she's like, no, it has to be natural, you can't fabricate it. Just leave it how it is. And I'm like, no, necesitas algo un poquito de sequera para traer alguna emoción, porque you need to trigger that emotion somehow. Y poniendo una analogía, hay esta película, la de I'm Thinking of Ending Things. El papá dice, oh, I don't feel anything with that nature scenery. And, you know, to feel sad, I need someone in that picture to look sad at the scenery. Pero un buen punto que dijo el artista fue que, just imagine yourself looking at the scenery. What do you feel? And he's like, oh, nothing, but the right answer was supposed to be sad. I guess it also relies on the person viewing it. But obviamente you need to have that base in tu arte, whether it's photography or writing, necesitas tener un base de emoción. Como que para guiar tu audience.
Yeah, obligado. So, pensando un poquito acá, La mitad tuya, she likes taking pictures of just nature, or like le gusta tomar la foto al natural?
Al natural in nature. Like, she usually takes, and they're very nice. She doesn't have any equipment. She only has her iPhone. But the composition of them is so nice. Like, she'll spend hours on the floor taking a picture of just this one flower from her backyard. Y, like, you know, Joe, but that's because I'm biased and I'm not a fan of scenery pictures, but they're very nice, and the composition and the technicality put into it is amazing. But definitely, han habido otras personas, especially in her household, that really do get emotionally driven by it, because maybe the flower is limped in a certain way and it looks sad, and then this, you know, complimenting the sky that it's blue, trae también otra emoción. So she has her way of portraying emotion through very still objects. Que I have no idea how that can be done. Como que eso sí es un nivel de meter cosas de ácido para llegar. Pero she makes it happen.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Fíjate, hace tiempo que I don't take like photography seriously en el sentido de me practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Pero if I were to go back to it, sería más como que street photography, cuestión like documenting los pueblos y eso.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple, and they're just so, as a something inspiring, because I guess they're more raw in that sense.
Yeah. Pero por lo menos para mí, what I always was afraid to do was like asking people, can I take your picture?
Sí.
Yeah. Pero,
would you be able to ask now that you're doing all of these podcasts? Would you be more confident in asking?
Maybe, de verdad que no estoy seguro, porque todavía no tengo como que la confianza of just asking ahí randomly. But
okay.
Who knows? Primero que todo hay que ver cómo se resuelve esta cuestión.
True, yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe you can make like a COVID edition de todo mundo con la máscara.
That would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So ya que estamos hablando del creative process, quarantine, has it affected that process in any way? Has it been positive, negative, más o menos?
It's affected. I don't want to say, I guess, negatively, but it's mostly because, like, nothing is really stopping me from taking more pictures or writing more. It's more like I'm just stuck, and nothing is like how it used to be. So todavía, you know, aunque pasa un montón de meses, es bien difícil como que acoplar. And now I'm starting to understand como que, okay, this is kind of like the new reality for the time being. So, en cuestión de writing, como que that's kind of like been in a hiatus and a stop. But I guess photography, with these new challenges of, you know, social distancing and all that, it's a challenge that once you're able to overcome it, it's more rewarding. For example, with the whole ghost challenge, there was a really good response both from my friend's account and my account with the pictures, and there were a lot of people that really liked them. And there were a couple people that were like, oh, it looked like that película, like a ghost story. Que hay una escena que we tried to imitate.
Yeah.
Y es como que, yeah, like, yes, that's what we wanted to do. That's what we were trying to do. Y habían otras que eran en el poblado that were like, oh, eso parece cuando te íbamos a enviar. And it's like, yes, that's what we were trying to do. So when people kind of like pinpoint those things that we were trying to emit, it's so much more rewarding, because you're like, okay, we got to social distance, we got to, you know, get tested under this, so because, you know, we want to be really careful. Plus, you know, un poquerón casi nadie usa máscaras tampoco, so es como que hay que tener extra cuidado.
Al garete.
Sí. So, I guess, you know, even though the creative process has been very difficult, when it comes to photography, the reward is just so much greater, I guess, because now that everyone is using technology more, then it's more accessible. When in writing, only a selected people read it. I've kind of been in that sense, I've been in a creative slump. I'll write a poem here and there, but it's always like a verse or something, and it always falls short. But I guess that has to do with more of me, like, not getting out of my ass to actually do it.
Gotcha.
But a ver si no sé si funciona. I empathize with everyone out there that is in like in a creative halt or in a what do you call that, a writer's block.
Yeah.
Full como que I empathize everyone that's on a writer's block ahora mismo.
Yeah, yo recientemente como que sentido un poco eso y ha sido por eso como que ya it's been so much time enclosed que pero to try to get out of it, what I'm trying to do is, no sé si has escuchado el proceso, que el otro como que la serie de podcast que yo hago los jueves, but este semestre nos hemos tirado el reto de cada semana un poema con una técnica diferente. So I don't know, this week un haiku, o la semana que viene tenemos que incluir emojis in the poem. So
okay,
whatever it is, tratamos, por lo menos I'm trying to find techniques, or at least create my own techniques diferente, and trying to make something different, porque when I'm in a writer's block or a creative block or whatever, significa que estoy super depressed. So I don't want to get there.
Same. Yeah, actually, that whole that practicing and that, you know, poniendo un reto, that's actually a really good idea. Because I guess the same applies for almost any other hobby. Como que even if you're in a slump, then maybe you should go back to learning the basics. Que en este caso, but those would be the basics. You know, just getting out of your comfort zone and just writing. Even if it's bad, como que hacerlo. Which obviamente I have to apply that ese dicho mío. Pero como que those things really do work. And even with photography, como que aunque sea tu vaso o tus mascotas, las mascotas son los mejores modelos que hay. Just, you know, para practicar esos basics de composition, lighting, todo eso, then just take a picture of anything. And it's something that you're not really using your full creativity to do. You're just using some part of it and you're just practicing. And maybe along the way, the more practice you do, then you're like this burge of creativity. You're like, okay, now I want to make something of my own. So I guess si lo podemos aplicar así, that would really help anyone in writer's block or a creative block. Y para que no caigan en depresión, por favor.
Obligado. Now that we've discussed that topic, como mencionamos ahorita, prior to quarantine, pues you would participate in the open mics, so you would...
Yes, I miss them so much.
Confía, estamos igual. Escribía poesía, short stories, you do photography, y you're active on the web, pero I wouldn't say you're like an addict ahí pegado el tiempo, pero you know, estás viendo lo que está pasando de vez en cuando. So
yeah, but like you mean like event wise, noticioso wise, or
no, like en la escena de arte en Puerto Rico. So
oh yeah, like I know I'm kind of in the shadows of that.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, based on your experience prior to the quarantine y por lo que ves ahora via internet, las redes y eso, how do you see the scene right now?
Yeah. I'm gonna like limit it al oeste, and I assume that that's the limit que tú también tienes, o a nivel isla.
Lo que tú veas, sea oeste o sea lo que veas también si visitas el área metro or whatever, you know.
Okay, pues por lo menos en el área oeste, just because I'm more familiar with that, como que there's definitely like, I don't know, there's been this surge of creativity. I feel like in the lines between antes de la pandemia y ahora, como que that in between, esa rayita, que ha salido mucha gente a hacer unas cosas tremendas, like de la nada mucha gente estaban haciendo podcasts. No de la nada, you know, maybe tenían esas ansias para hacerlo, pero ahora como tienen a little bit more free time, or, you know, tienen como que maybe these more inspirations coming in. Han habido mucha gente haciendo podcasts, gente, you know, even thinking about writing books, and they're even in the process of haciendo libros. Incluso pues películas también, he visto como 5 personas como que in the process of making a script, whether se cumple o no son otros 20 pesos, but just the fact that people are starting on their own to do these things, it's overwhelming, but at the same time, like, very inspiring to see, como que, hasta con música, todo esto aquí por lo menos en Cabo Rojo, en Mayagüez y San Germán, hay tantos jóvenes como que kind of like getting up from their seats and they're like, okay, I kind of want to do something for myself. And hay alguna gente que lo llevan a comercial, you know, like making shirts, making music to sell, or vendiendo su arte para fotografía, para propaganda. Y otros que lo hacen solamente para complacer sus necesidades de tener que expresarse. Porque if I were to put it like in a 1 to 10, como que maybe because I'm a baby in this, fue reciente que yo me puse en esta escena, like in the scene of the artsy scene, but I feel like it's been a 9. Like when I first started getting into it, people would do it, but it was a very selected group. But now it seems like almost everyone is doing some type of artistic work, and they're being recognized too. It's not like, oh, you know, someone de Boquerón is doing this. You know, it's like, okay, they're actually getting like the recognition that they deserve. It's definitely been booming, and I guess ese nicho que había se está expandiendo, and you know, luckily it's been very welcoming and heartfelt as a community. Como que quizás no todo el mundo se conocen, but there's definitely they know about each other. Y esas cosas como que además que crean conexiones, crean como que ese círculo bien grande de gente creativa. And everyone's like very open to talk to anybody de aquí. Especialmente si están en esa como que misma línea de creatividad o trabajo. I don't know if that answers a bit the question, but that's kind of like my thought on it.
Confía que it answers it. Beautifully, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
So Mari, como mencionamos ahorita, you've been tipping your toe in the field of sci-fi and doing more photography. So I have to ask, do you have any upcoming projects, or are you cooking up some projects as we speak?
I really have nothing cooking up. There are some ideas, but they're not even in the oven. They're legit just sitting in the fridge, you know. Como que, tú sabes como cuando tienes el pan como que creciendo, está en ese proceso, el pan está creciendo. The yeast is developing. So, están en eso, como que the only crazy idea that I have is making a short story collection, but I only have one from like 20 that I want to make. But the only thing I guess I see, but some more photos. That's the only thing that I know for sure that I'm gonna do. Come on, that's definitely something that I want to do more of. Whether it be, you know, comercial or just gustos míos, you know, de seguro pues va a venir algo. But something like a project, like a movie, like a book, nothing for sure, sadly. I guess once I get out of that pit of a creativity block, then there might be something.
Gotcha. El short story collection, ¿quiere que sea como que like a drama, lleno de stories de drama, or like a horror collection or sci-fi collection?
Drama. I did once think of making a short story, like short stories of sci-fi, pero pues I've sort of done more la de drama, y son lo que dije ahorita, los chismes de la familia. That's legit it. It's just a bunch of stories of things that happened that I know about my family, and I kind of want those things to live on. Because, you know, especialmente con estas cosas ahora pasando, like, you know, the whole Latinoamérica being very sexist y machista, and los feminicidios pasando, there's some things that esas cosas que están pasando hoy en día, they kind of brew from these traditions que hemos vivido, and some of us don't even know that we lived through it. So I was like, I really want to talk about these issues, but in a very micro scale. Like, where do they start? Like, I'm no psychologist. I don't know where it starts when it comes to trauma. But you can have an idea of when those like unbaked ideas end up becoming an action. So I really want to like tackle that. And I'm pretty sure que en cualquier familia de nosotros, especialmente de nuestros abuelos, we can ask them something and when they tell us, we're like, oh, that's kind of sexist, or that's kind of racist. But that was their culture. It's not like they knew about the consequences of those things todavía. So I definitely want to like write algo en esa línea, como que es kind of like a social drama. Pero sí.
Nice. Confía que hablando con los abuelos de uno consigue historias que, chach.
Yeah, sí. Y no es como que rip it off tampoco, porque pues I don't wanna poner ahí, bash my family's name ni nada. Pero son cosas que se repiten. Like when you ask, maybe my grandparents or your grandparents, there is going to be that consistency or that common denominator. There's going to be some event que pasa in cada sitio. So I wanted to be as exclusive as it, it's its own story, but it's also something that is happening not only in Puerto Rico but in the whole world. So quiero como que traer algo de esas cosas.
Gotcha. Sí, te entiendo. Entonces, finally, your social media. Where can people find your work or contact you for photography if you want to collab?
Pues definitely open to collabs. Mi Instagram en verdad es la más confiable. It's let me look for the tag. I'm not sure of it anymore. It's Ferrer_M1999. Si ven que dice Sparring Edward, soy yo, ya que me tiraron al medio con eso. Instagram is like I'm always there. I'm always scrolling there, so anybody can hit me up whenever they want.
Awesome. So, to close out, I want to ask a question that might be difficult, but at the heart, it's a fun question. So, se la robé a Snoop Dogg, but it will have some modifications. So, you're in a deserted island with only 3 forms of entertainment. The 3 forms that you can take are 1 book, 1 movie, and 1 album. ¿Qué te llevas?
Okay, so I have to pick one of each or just one of them?
One of each.
Okay, one of each. So I guess the book, I would take Isaac Asimov Foundation. Like, I am going against Juno Diaz, that is my god, but that book has resonated more. You said movie and album, right?
Yeah.
Movie, Babel. And album, you got me there. Maybe one of the Led Zeppelin albums. I think La que dice número uno.
Okay, the first one?
Yeah, the first one. That one. I used to listen to that a lot, so that's kind of like a soft spot.
Not bad choices.
Those, yeah.
Not bad choices.
Now I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to feel bad if I don't pick Juno Diaz, but I'm going to pick Isaac Asimov.
Don't worry. Pues, first off, Mari, I want to say thank you for saying yes. Esto fue de ayer para hoy.
Sí, eso es mejor. Siempre salen estas cosas mejor cuando son de ayer para hoy.
Yeah. Segundo, keep your head up. The inspiration shall come, and we shall get through this bullshit.
Yes. Oh my God. An inspiration to you too. I hope I get to see your photography. I am excited for that.
Thank you. Y tercero, hand sanitizer, mascarilla,
Yes,
stay healthy.
and I hope that new COVID test will make us bunny rabbits también, so.
Obligado. Dicho eso, su nombre es Mariana Ferrer. You can find her on Instagram bajo Ferrer_M 1999, right?
Yes.
She's a writer, photographer, future filmmaker, perhaps?
Perhaps, yes, perhaps.
Awesome. Mariana, gracias una vez más, beba.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the outlet, ¿verdad? And I really like your stuff también. Escuché la de Natasha and the horror movies. Really good stuff que si nadie lo ha escuchado deberían escucharlo ya. Like, salgan de este y vayan para este.
Thank you. FENcast con Mariana Ferrer. We're set. Thank you once again, Bebo.